And with that, we will be starting day 5 of the opening tournament of the SLE. I'm once again your host, FMA, and today, once again, I have with me the wonderful Jonas. Jonas, how are we feeling?
We're feeling good today. We're excited for these games today. Oh,
As
it's
am
a good
I.
day to be alive.
It is, and it is a good day to be a fan of League of Legends as well, and of good League of Legends. I thought that yesterday we had some absolutely amazing games, especially with the performances coming out from Gentle Monkey, and then that really, really close and interesting match between the side of SG Momentum up against Crown of the Ruin King. Today we will have on the schedule, we will first have another SG Momentum game here. They're going to go up against NSG Ruination, who are yet to play in the tournament. Um, yeah, it's going to be a very interesting game. What are you expecting to see today?
I'm expecting Play today to show up again. Like yesterday's performing was out of the world, and I'm looking forward to seeing his fresh. I hope that we can see it today, since we didn't get to see it yesterday.
I
And then I
am.
also,
Go on.
and then I also expect to see that I'd say they are a bit of underdogs. They haven't really had a game yet. They need to prove themselves in the league. I expect him to do great things, but in this game.
Well, prove themselves. Many teams have done that so far here in SLE. Some of them we didn't expect, and I think there's no bigger test to go up against in your first match than SG Momentum, who, as you have mentioned previously, look absolutely outstanding so far. So, yeah, let's get the show on the road. You want to see a Thresh. Are there any picks that you would maybe like to see from the OPGGs of the side of NSG Ruination? Have you taken a look at that?
I mean, Code of Worlds, Diana or Viego, I'd really love to see that. Like
Yeah.
he got insane performance in the solo queue on Diana,
Yeah.
and then maybe also some Rakan from this support from the Fae guy from is it NRG or
NSG Ruination. Or
NSG
as we shorten
Nation?
it to NRN.
NRN. Okay. And then maybe we can see some assassins coming out from Magic TM.
Yeah. I
I
saw
hope
that as
so.
well. There is a lot of Z games coming out from his side on his account. Um,
Yeah.
the flexibility so far that we have seen from Momentum has been very insane, and we've seen 2 games of Lilia top. So talk to me a little bit about the Lilia top, maybe more in depth.
I mean, the Lilia top is, in my opinion, a bit of a cheese pick because into these melee champions like Shen, On, they're just gonna struggle. And originally, she is a jungler, but the recent changes actually made her better in the solo lane. So I think maybe I'm getting a bit too ahead to say it's a cheese pick, but I mean, it is a fantastic pick with everything. You got the move speed and lane, can't really be taught. Will always stay in range, poke you down, and just take all your resources away from you.
Yeah, well, you might have mentioned cheese pick. I think what is certain is that it is insanely good to abuse tanks, and tanks usually tend to be the comfort picks, sort of the we fall back on that champion, and yeah, so far we've seen that the Lilia really exposes them, and that exposing can be quite nasty. What we also saw is that the Mordekaiser was picked yesterday by, I mean, from your own team, from Gentle Monkey. Also a pick that can really abuse some of the tanks.
Yeah, I mean Mordekaiser going the Riftmaker, of course, dealing the true damage, and his passive is working amazing with the Riftmaker, so he'll deal out a ton of damage to the tanks, even though he really isn't supposed to do that. And his ulti as well, stealing away the um, resistances and basically the base stats
Yeah,
from the tank.
and as you say that, we will finally jump into draft here in the first match of today of SG Momentum rather, up against NSG Forsaken. Already the Thresh ban and the Rakan ban coming out. Flay's team banning his own Thresh. That is Oh, quick bans, very, very quick bans. We have barely any time to talk. And the Diana
Ooh.
already locked in, already banned, and then the Viego first pick. Once again left open for the side of SG Momentum. They looked absolutely amazing with that pick the last time around. And once again, they will be facing an Ezreal. Whether they game plan to shut down the Ezreal will come true is what we will have to see. Then
This
that
is a
is.
GP blind pick. This is interesting.
What are
Because
some of the
usually,
matchups that are really good into GP?
I could assume Camille is pretty good since she just outscaling side lane, as I talked on yesterday, that she doesn't really have that many bad matchups. So, but I think she will get bullied in lane though. But I think actually, yeah, up
That
into the
might.
Tahm Kench.
That is seems like a very interesting pick, especially because GP has the opportunity of actually getting out of the Devour with his W. So maybe we see a funny little interaction there. Do you think the Tom Kench pick is good into GP?
I mean, essentially, you're just gonna be meat shield and you're just gonna hold the GP in lane.
Hmm.
But in terms of laning phase, I actually think it's not that good of a pick. You give GP free grasp stacks from his Q, and you can't really kill him either, I don't think, because GP will just set up his barrels behind him, and then if Tahm Kench ever goes in, he will just barrel on top of the Tahm Kench and run away.
So
So I do
I
think
go on.
it's a bit of a blunder, but let's see how it turns out.
It will be Blunder up against the Blunderbuss coming out from GP here. And once again, we will see Ben21 on that Kai'Sa. Looked pretty good on it yesterday. A bit of an unsung hero in those team fights. And then the Rel. Rel shield shredding against Tahm Kench. That can be very, very brutal.
And also the Kai'Sa ulti. Cannot forget about that. When she dives in and will Q her, she won't have that massive shield that she gets from her ulti. So this could be some spicy things going on.
Well, but still, they have the Viego already locked in for themselves. And some of the junglers that the Coda of Worlds from NSG Ruination does like, in that Diana, for example, are already banned out. So we will have to wait and see whether he has something that he's very comfortable with.
Yeah, we could maybe see the Trundle, since it is into a Tahm Kench, and I'm pretty sure the Trundle has a good way in early game against Viego.
I would agree, and I do like to see that Trundle pick come out a lot, because I think that Trundle has a lot of interesting ways of actually finding himself inside a game where he has some avenues that junglers don't usually have. Yeah. Now we do round out the second ban phase with 2 support bans coming out from Ruination and an Echo and a Volibear ban. So punching that jungle pool even more means that the meta will continue and Coda of Worlds will be whipping out the Xin Zhao.
Another bruiser pick, another broken item abuser, as we love to see
These
in this
bruiser
meta.
item abusers.
Yeah, you also have the Viego with the bruise item abuse. GP also abused the bruise items, and even Ezreal abused the
Ezreal.
bruise item.
It
It's
pains
just,
me. It
yeah,
pains me. Well,
right.
these teams
Seriously,
do at least know what is good, right? This is about winning. You said
mm,
yesterday. You said it's not just about what was your wording? It was not about just participating, but rather dominating. What
oh, we're
what
not
was
here
the
to
quote?
take part. We're here to take over.
Okay. Domination is key here, as we do see the Lulu paired up with the Kai'Sa. So not a lot of playmaking today coming out from the side of Flay. A little bit sad to see that, I have to say. But it does kind of work well in this composition. And then a blind pick Anivia.
This is a bit interesting because Anivia usually isn't played in the competitive league.
Yeah, well,
I'm actually
Xanderts
surprised.
yesterday said in the interview that maybe we can expect some more scaling picks to come out from the side of SG Momentum, and he does find that in Nivea. So maybe even yesterday, already having that in the back of his mind, as we will now see the Syndra locked into it. And honestly, that seems like a very good matchup for the Syndra, but Xanderts has proven just through raw mechanical prowess, he can turn some things around.
It is actually not after 6 that good of a matchup because Anivia Syndra is too short range for Anivia, so Anivia will actually just press her ulti and Syndra can't really touch her, or she has to stay in her ulti. But in terms of pre-level 6, this is a very hard matchup for Anivia. I would have actually liked to see some more higher range champions from the red side, like the Vel'Koz, the Xerath, the Corgi even, maybe even the 6
Hmm.
to
Well,
counter this Anivia.
also the Rel is actually picked into a Lulu. How do you feel about that support matchup? Because I think that's pretty rough for Lulu, no?
I mean, yes, yes and no, because Lulu can always just sit behind, and if Vel can't really, I mean, she can go in, but she will get polymorphed, and I'm not sure how much it will do if she goes in on Lulu.
Well, the thing about the polymorph is that it doesn't interrupt the ultimate ability from Rel once it's already cast, and then the Rel can also shield break. Once again, we talk about this as an extremely powerful tool in the toolkit of Rel, which really sort of like brought her back when people thought that she was pretty dead. But it is a very, very strong tool. Yeah, well, what we will be seeing is that there's a lot of burst damage coming out from the side of Ruination, whereas the prolonged fights should probably go in the favor of momentum here. Um, how do you expect the lanes to go? Let's start on top side. You said seems like a pretty rough lane for the Tahm Kench, who typically does pretty well, right? And the GP
Yeah.
can struggle in some lanes as that can be abusable. Um, yeah, how do you think the mid lane matchup goes though?
The mid lane, I think pre-level 6 Syndra's mainly gonna have to push. She's gonna poke Anivia a bit, but I don't think there will be any kill pressure. After level 6, I think Anivia will have to turn where she will be the bully, because of the slow or the low range of the Syndra. She can't really walk up to Anivia without being in Anivia ulti. Um, but other than that, in the bot lane, I think bot lane is gonna be really passive.
The
I don't
thing
think much
about
gonna
the
happen.
Anivia ult is that one scatter the weak instantly interrupts the ultimate, and then you can just basically freely walk at the Anivia. So I think that the Syndra matchup, especially with how long range that stun can be, you did ask for a little bit more range. I think the Syndra
Hmm.
scatter the weak can actually provide that, so it sets up nicely. I think Ruination have drafted themselves a lot of strong tools that are in their toolkit here. And some scaling advantages in some of the later game team fights. So whether the Anivia can, I say weather the storm, without intending the pun here, is what we're gonna have to observe. Then let's talk a little bit more about the jungle matchup. Viego and Zhao, two very popular champions at the moment. What do you expect out of their pathing?
I mean, Xin Chao, I hope that he up into the top side, into the GP who should have push, into the Syndra who should have push, and then dominate the top side of the map and let Israel free scale in the bot side, get to his 2 item power spike, and then the real maybe even coming mid lane for a quick roam. The Viego, I think he should. I don't think he can match the top side that Xin Chao can get, because of his lanes. So I think he should definitely up into the bot side of the map.
Well, maybe a little bit of a split map scenario that we might be seeing here, and I think in brawls it is pretty evident that the Zhao does take the cake, especially in the 2v2. The 2v2 from the side of Ruination is extremely powerful. So I'm a very, very big fan of the comp that they have drafted themselves here. The Ezreal that uh, Momentum played against yesterday was sort of more of that hyper carry Ezreal. He was being set up, he
Hmm.
was being peeled around. Everything was, all the eggs were in his basket, and he was set up to carry the game for Crown of the Ruin King. A different approach here coming out from the Ruination Ezreal, who is sort of more of that safer or who will more have to play that safer style of Ezreal that we contrasted
Yeah.
alongside the Korean Ezreal carry.
Yeah. I mean, he's gonna be the traditional Israel. You put him at bot lane. You say you scale up at, until 20 minutes ish when you have your 2 item power spike, and then you can come join the team fights and you can deal out all the damage. And you sit behind on your own, and Will go in, and the GP Syndra of Sanjia will follow up.
Well, then I turn towards the Rel. Do you think that Rel can actually free herself from the lane and get off successful roams?
I mean, it is gonna be a bit tough because I'm pretty sure that the Kaiser Lulu will have to push early since it's double range into melee range. But I think maybe on the back timers when both the bot laners they back at the same time, then maybe Rill can sneak in a mid gank or mid roam. Um, but other than that, I think it's actually gonna be really tough now that I'm thinking about it.
Now that we are also already down there, let's talk a little bit more about why Ben21 really likes the matchup of the Kai'Sa into the Ezreal. Walk me through the steps or what he might be thinking, why he elects for this 2 times in a row.
I mean, I think it is because that if Ezreal gets the passive from Kai'Sa and she ults in on him, then there's not much to do from the Ezreal because once Kai'Sa is on top of you, she's like an assassin. She will cure you with all the like, especially if you're like isolated Q, then it will do so much damage, and Ezreal can't really do anything in return.
So
So
that,
I think
that
that's the reason why that he likes the matchup so much.
So that will be the plan. That will come out from Ben to One. Yesterday, it wasn't really his job. He was more of a reliable backline carry using that ult to defensively reposition as the onslaught from Crown of the Ruin King was thrown at him, and he did do so pretty successfully, having some nice ult timings. Maybe he can actually find his stopwatch today. We were hoping to see a nice stopwatch coming out from him yesterday. That
Yeah.
that did not end up occurring. But maybe today he can sort of find some redemption on that. And this time around, he does have the Lulu to actually provide a lot of safety for him here.
Yeah. I mean, the rail engage is probably not gonna be enough to stop the Kaiser with the Lulu and the Nivea on top of her. They are very safe in the backline right now. And
Very,
when
very
it's
true.
with the Tamkench meat shield, there's not much that can land on top of them if Tamkench just sits in front. Even though that Ezreal, Syndra, and GP do have a lot of long range, and with the barrels, the Syndra Qs, the Syndra E, the Ezreal Q, Ezreal ulti as well. But
Typically, we see Peel being set up for the AD carry position, like we saw, for example, from CRK yesterday, where they put all of their Peel to try to defend their AD carry. Here, we do have a lot of Peel. Maybe for the side of Xandarts. Maybe Xandarts is being set up as the hyper carry because Kai'Sa is very good when fending for herself, as we saw yesterday. And if all the resources do instead go towards that Anivia, with, for example, the Tom Kench Devour, right? Can't forget about that one. And the Lulu speed, the Lulu shield, the wild growth, that can be very effective tools to actually defend an Irelia that is trying to be doven by maybe a Xin Zhao and a Rel.
yeah, I mean, overall, they just have an amazing peel type. We actually do see the Tamkench going for an Ignite top lane or Ignite TP. That is
That
actually interesting.
Do you like
I've never.
the adaptation?
I mean, it might be because he knows that he's having a bit of a rough matchup, and Ignite might change up the matchup a bit. But I actually haven't seen it before, so it's actually a bit spicy. I do kind of like it, but then again, I'm also a bit afraid that it will just be a massive blunder.
Well, maybe Ruzu is actually. So he picked this into the GP, right? And Tom Kench, obviously
Hmm.
being recently reworked, means that maybe Ruzu is very, very comfortable in that matchup specifically, right? This might be his
Yeah.
idea of a gangplank counter, and he can maybe show us some of the angles that we weren't previously thinking of. One of the reasons why I really don't like Ignite into GP is once again, you can just orange it.
True. I mean, that is the case, but we'll see how it will turn out. Maybe he knows something we don't.
Exactly. So for the side of Ruination that we are following right now, we do see the setup of a 5-point defense. And as I say that, I do tell a bit of a lie, as Magic and Coder of Worlds have teamed up and are now going to be under threat from this 3-man stack coming out from the side of Momentum, who place an early ward and will then look to retreat. An early ward on the Raptors will tell them exactly where the Zenzao will start, as they now expect him to start towards the bottom side. Well, I say start, they will see him when he paths around it, right?
Yeah, the Shen Shao could actually opt into taking his red buff, maybe even his Crocs, and then just leave his Raptor, or go red buff and then go around the big stone wall, so
Hmm.
he won't be in fog of war.
Well, he
Um,
does seem to be walking over here now, and if he walks forward, he does exactly spot that ward out. But with the availability of the Oracle lens that he's purchased for himself, that will mean he will give over that information for free. Not a big fan of that, but you know what this does allow?
it
It
allows
gives
him to get level 1
experience, exactly. It
or
gets her
level 2 at
level
the first
2
wave.
on the first wave, and that is something that I would like to see from more teams. Cheeky little level 1 plan that I thought of, which is
Hmm.
specifically targeted at clearing wards. And so we will look at what the Syndra will be doing with that early level 2 advantage, as Xin Zhao now starts doing his red.
We also saw that Fnatic actually did this against G2. They gave both Niski and Adam a hit on the level 1 ward, so they both got level 2 on the first wave.
Yeah, that was
And
a
Adam
beautiful
could have
play.
actually took advantage of them, but I think he forgot it, that he would get level 2 on the first wave.
Well, this is not a huge advantage here taken from the side of Magic, who has ticked over to level 2, but Xandar's in a similar position here, as a bit of trading down towards the bot side as well, and in top lane too. So a bit of an early lead coming out for the side of Ruzu here. Jump forward coming out from Ezreal.
I do hope that we will see a Serpent Fang on the GP this game, since there is a lot of shields from the side of SGM, with the Viego going Sterex, Tamkench, E obviously, and the Kai'Sa ulti and the Lulu shields.
Oh, Ruzu already landing that W very early on, and he's just gonna kill the... Oh my god. Oh my god. He just solo killed him level 3. We were doubtful of this matchup. And you know what? The Ignite meant something. It was important. Like, holy
Might do
moly.
it again.
Another W landing here. This time the Q. Oh, this looks really, really bad, as Ruzu might be out for
He might
blood
get
today.
over here.
Oh, the
They
stun
will
also
dive him.
connecting. They will dive him. The W is not even available. Now it is. He does take over to level 3 as Cold Insanity chases him through the turret. Ruzu tanking the last shot. 2 deaths, and the TP is now down. Xandart's now under scrutiny in the mid lane as he does flash over the wall. Code of Worlds does not choose to follow it. This is a terrible situation for Nixon here.
Nixon, he will lose at least 3 waves for this. This is really bad spot to be in. He'll be
3
down at
waves
least
at
2 levels.
At 4 minutes. That's so rough.
This is a really rough start from the GP. In first being solo bowled by the Tamkench with the Ignite and then getting doved on the TP back. This is not looking good for the top lane matchup. Maybe we were wrong about the matchup actually.
That is
Maybe
what
it is
I...
favored Tamkench.
That is what I thought when I saw the Ignite coming out, and Ruzu is certainly looking to prove that we were wrong. As
Yeah.
a bit of a bot wave stacking up here from the side of the bot lane of Momentum, rather. Now, we also saw in mid lane that the first scatter of the week, so the Syndra, I saw her miss her very first scatter of the week, and seeing that really, really hurt me a little bit, and I think that it kind of indicates maybe that there's not a lot of comfort for that Syndra, and that it was rather just a pure answer into Anivia, and a huge top wave now coming into Ruzu, who has bought himself 2 ruby crystals and some boots.
We actually see that Viego actually gave up some camp advantage to the Xin Zhao to do that dive, since the Xin Zhao got the double scuttle off.
Very, very good find here by you, so that is a bit of an advantage, as you say, and we did also see that...
They didn't lose everything on the top dive. I'm sorry for interrupting you, go ahead.
That's alright, as we do now see a bit of a gank set up here down towards the bot side. Rail flashes forward and Faye finds the knockout. That does certainly mean that Flay falls here, and Ruzu has TP'd in here. Now the W will connect on the slowed rail and the Xin Zhao, as the Xin Zhao does seem to be the target for now. Now attention turned back towards the rail as she does remount and get out of that scot-free. Only losing her flash, but finding a kill on Flay today, and most importantly, the TP means that there is now freedom up in the top side for Nixon. As I say that, we do see that Cold Insanity is making a bit of a move up there. They push down that wave here. Ruzu now having that level 6 available, interestingly. Ooh, that's done.